It's reported the United States has accelerated the storage of its mainstay nuclear bomb to NATO bases in Europe. According to US diplomatic cables, the arrival of the upgraded B-6112 air-dropped air gravity bomb was scheduled for next spring, but is now planned for this December. This comes a day after Russia rehearsed its response to a nuclear attack. The exercises involved nuclear submarines, strategic bombers and ballistic missiles, and they were monitored by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Russia has also previously, during the Ukraine crisis, threatened the use of a nuclear weapon. However, the Pentagon says the modernization of the US B-61 nuclear weapons has been underway for years and says the move is in no way linked to current events in Ukraine. The B-61 is a family of nuclear bombs which was first developed in the early 1960s. Currently there are 100 bombs stored at air bases in Germany, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands and Turkey. The new version is designed so that US and Allied bomber planes and fighter aircraft are able to carry it, something not possible with the older version.
Everything we're doing here is to demonstrate, and it's never going to work when it's not, with ground testing, test flights.
And I'm now joined by someone called Daniel. I don't know much more about Daniel. Daniel, could you introduce yourself and then we can get chatting?
Sure, my name's Daniel Högst. I'm the campaign coordinator for the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons.
Excellent, Daniel. Thank you. And sorry that I wasn't given that information. Tell me your response to these diplomatic cables with regards to American nuclear weapons. Should we be alarmed in any way, or is this just a routine procedure along the lines of what the Pentagon is suggesting at this point?
Well, I mean, I think it is alarming. I mean, as you alluded to, there's no clear reason practically or militarily to accelerate the delivery of these so-called upgraded nuclear weapons to the NATO hosting states that you mentioned. So one has to conclude that it is about signaling to different audiences. I mean, Russia has been engaging with some seriously irresponsible and dangerous rhetoric around potentially using nuclear weapons on Ukraine. And unfortunately, there are voices in the United States and in NATO and NATO member states who feel that the response to those kinds of threats should be to engage in some saber rattling as well. And I think that's what this is. And also there's probably an intention to simultaneously also reassure member states, NATO member states, and in so doing enforce a kind of discipline and unity among them. But certainly this kind of signaling is still extremely dangerous.
And Daniel, does that saber rattling, as you describe it, take us closer to some kind of potential disaster, or is it just saber rattling at this point?
Well, saber rattling is never just saber rattling when it comes to nuclear weapons. I don't think there's anyone who can credibly say that they can predict Vladimir Putin's thinking on this. It's a deeply unpredictable and precarious situation, not least when it comes to the nuclear weapons dimension of the war. And there's probably a lot going on behind the scenes at the Kremlin that we don't know about. The problem with nuclear deterrence, which is what this saber rattling practice is that it works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, the humanitarian consequences are absolutely catastrophic and there's no meaningful response possible. I mean, sometimes you hear about tactical nuclear weapons that are being discussed in the context of this conflict. And what we have to remember is the yield of those tactical nuclear weapons is level similar to what leveled Hiroshima, killing well over 100,000 people. So it's a deeply concerning situation. And I mean, the best thing and the most responsible thing to do would be to continue to delegitimize and stigmatize any threat to use nuclear weapons. That's the kind of best means for raising the threshold of use. And we've seen it be effective in this conflict a few months ago when Russia was forced to backtrack from some earlier nuclear threats it made in response to an outcry about that. So we can either rely on luck, which is what we're doing right now when it comes to nuclear weapons, or we can rely on international norms and law, which we know have raised the threshold of use in the past.
Okay, thank you, Daniel, for your point of view on that.